and welcome to this video in which you understand how to enter flow anytime you want. So, have you ever had one of those days where you just sit down to work and everything just flows? You're focused, you're creative, you're unstoppable. Hours pass and you barely notice like the day is going away. And there are some other days in which you sit at the same desk, you sip the coffee, you check some tabs, you send maybe one email, and then you convince yourself that maybe cleaning the kitchen is more productive than sitting down at the desk. Well, you didn't lose your motivation or your discipline, you just slipped out of flow. So most people think that flow is like a mystical state reserved for athletes, musicians, or geniuses. But that's really not true because it's really strategy, mechanics. It's a biological state your brain enters when certain conditions exist, certain conditions really align. And so if you understand those conditions, you can trigger flow whenever you want. So in this video, I'll show you exactly 5 ingredients on how you can have flow on command and step-by-step processes in a ritual that I use that I can access flow anytime. So by the end of this video, we're gonna be rocking our flow because we're gonna feel like so into flow, and we're gonna design our mind and our environment so we can focus automatically and don't feel forced to focus ourselves on something. So let's dive in. When I first heard about flow, I thought it was something that you just fell into. But after training thousands of people to perform at their best, I realized that it's really not random, it's structure. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the man who coined the term flow, basically said that it appears when two things are perfectly balanced. And they are challenge and your skills. So they have to be perfectly balanced, and this will create flow. So now, to give an example, let's say you're playing the piano and you have a song that's really easy. What happens to you? You're gonna feel bored. But if you're doing a song that's really hard, that will make you maybe anxious. So when the challenge matches your skills, you enter the zone where time disappears, and that's flow. So if it is too easy, it's boredom. If it is too hard, it's anxiety. So in the middle, you have exactly the flow. So video games, for example, use this perfectly. They have clear goals, they instant feedback, and they raise their challenge. So that's why they're addictive. That's why you want to stay and you're in a flow zone that you don't even listen what other people are talking about. So what are the 5 ingredients that will make your flow on command? First of all, we have to have a clear goal. Number 1, clear goal. Number 2, challenge and skills has to be balanced. Number 3, we have to have no distractions. Number 4, the environment is very important. And number 5 is intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation. So let's understand clear goal. As the video game, a clear goal, it's clear. When you say, for example, today I'm gonna do my project, that means nothing to your brain, because if you're doing the project, but you don't define what you're gonna do in that project, your brain doesn't know anything. So you have to say something like, I'm going to write down 200 pages of this. I'm going to write the introduction of my book. So that is a clear goal. So basically, you have to define what done looks like. What's done, okay? What it looks like. Then challenge, balance your skills. Now, as I told you earlier, if we put on a graphic, here you put your skills, and here we put the challenge. So when challenge and perfectly balance your skills, you enter the flow. So if let's say here it's very low skills and the challenge is very high, what happens to you? You're gonna feel here anxious. But if your challenge is low and you have a lot of skills, what happens? This becomes boring. So now, where is flow? Flow is where the challenge meets your skills. And now, there is a perfect formula for that, and the formula is 7 out of 10. So when your challenge is 7 out of 10 of your skills, you enter the flow metrics. Then, no distractions. So I know, guys, everybody talks about distractions, but it's really important that flow is so fragile that you have to have phone off, notifications off. You have to protect the environment you're in. Your flow will kick in 10-15 minutes, so it's the time you have to protect yourself. Then, environment. So the environment, it's very important. Now, there are people that like being in a noisy environment and they can focus really well. There are people that wants to be in silent environment. I'm, for example, someone that wants to be in a silent environment. And your brain likes anchors. What's an anchor? A repeated action you do with the same level of emotions makes your brain triggered. That is the time to do something. Let's say when you go to the bedroom and you know it's night, you're gonna sleep, what happens? You do your routine. You maybe wash your teeth, then you go to the bathroom, then you do other stuff, and then you find yourself in the bed. So what happens now? That position, all this routine makes your brain thinking, I'm going to sleep. Also, if you think about it, if you go during the day, it happens to go during the day into your bedroom, what happens to you? That you may feel that energy of relaxation because your brain knows that's a room in which you sleep and usually relax. Now, the same with your environment. When I set up my environment, so I open my laptop, I open my iPad, I have a book there, I have my coffee, I have my water, my brain knows, oh, it is setting up the environment to deep flow, to deep focus. So the environment is extremely important. Last part is the intrinsic motivation. So when you're doing something for other people or for approval or for rewards, not necessarily your brain will give you focus. Why? Because it doesn't feel any value to yourself. Let me give an example. So if you're trying to do a task because it was just given to you but you don't care about, how much interest are you gonna have? Very low. So now what happens? You won't have enough focus to really do that at the best you can do. You have to force yourself to do it. But when you realize that thing is gonna make you grow, when you realize, okay, I'm doing this because I have that goal clear in my mind, what happens? That you magically enter your focus. So your focus switches on. So that's how you enter focus. Repeat, clear goals, done, what done looks like. Second, challenge needs to balance your skills. So that creates flow, 7 out of 10. Then no distractions. It's very important to have notifications off. Your focus, your flow is fragile in the first 10 to 15 minutes. When you go and you have a distraction, it will take you maybe 20 minutes to get into focus again or to flow again. Environment. So set up your environment so your brain knows you're entering their environment. And then intrinsic motivation. So why is this important to you? What it makes you accomplish, what it makes you feel, what is that will make you grow on. These are the 5 ways to enter focus. Now, what's the ritual? The ritual to enter focus step by step and to enter focus step by step, to enter your flow anytime you want, goes basically through the same process by ending other 2. So, number 1, as we said, clear goal. So, clear goal. take a period of time between 30 to 90 minutes, depending on how demanding is the task. The more demanding is, the less time you're gonna block. The less demanding is, the more time you can block. Then number 2, you're going to have challenge, balance your skills. So in this case, 7 out of 10. Number 3, you're going to start small. What does it mean start small? Start small is if what you're gonna do it's really demanding and it's really big, you're gonna divide that thing in small wins. So it's like, it's not that you start from the 10th level of that video game, you actually start and grow the character as you go. So the challenge it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna ever pass this level, but you divide this big challenge in small levels that make you grow and make you evolve so you become more effective in accomplishing what you need to do. So small wins. Then number 4, you are basically going to set up the environment. As I told you, you have to anchor the environment in order for your brain to think like, oh, this is time to focus, this is time to flow. And then number 5. Now, notice that I basically put those 2 together because I really believe that once you have 7 out of 10 as a challenge, your brain doesn't have time to have to think other things or to have distractions. So automatically your distractions are going to go away once you increase the challenge at 7 out of 10. Then number 5, you are basically going to stop early. And this is something that when I say it, it seems counterintuitive because I have clients that say, Cosimo, what does that mean? I have to leave things messy, not finished? Well, in reality, what you're gonna do is to stop as you are in flow. This is not clear yet. Okay, let me explain it to you. Flow is a high level of chemistry in your brain, okay? And you want to leave flow not when you are dry out, but when you're still in it. Let me give you an example. So this actually comes from the Zeigarnik effect. It's really a big science research that you can read about it. But in other words, it says that your brain remembers very well things that are not finished than what you finished, of course. Now, let's say you're writing this 5-chapter book and you're at chapter 3, everything is flow, you are in the peak state, you're flowing, blah, blah, but it's the end of the day. You have to leave the office, you have to leave your room, whatever it is. In that time that you're writing that paragraph, what happens? You really want to finish it, but what I recommend you is don't finish the last paragraph, write a few words to remember what you want to write about that paragraph, and then stop early. Go away. What happens tomorrow? Tomorrow, when you get on the task again, your brain says, since your subconscious was working on the background, will say, oh, yes, I remember what it was here. And that will trigger the same level of flow and focus you had since you left off yesterday. So you can trigger flow also that way by stopping early. And it's magical because in that moment you're gonna write down, finish chapter 3, and you're in that flow to write chapter 4, chapter 5, and finish your book. This is awesome, so try it and you're gonna see it. Then, bonus. The bonus 6 is recovery. It's very important that you recover. Why? Because, as I said, flow is a peak state, and every peak state has a valley. You have different endorphins, norepinephrine, and you have different chemistry that's going on in your brain that really makes your brain engaged. You need to recover. So recovery, it's not a reward, it's actually your fuel. When you recover, it's important you do not engage your brain with anything. No reading, no watching videos, no scrolling on your phone. Why? Because you have to reset your level of dopamine. And to reset your level of dopamine, I'm gonna do another video about it, but my favorite one is to stare at the wall and be bored. When you're bored, you can't wait to be engaged again in something else. But if you're scrolling your phone, what happens? That you feel like level of dopamine's going up, and when you go back on your task, You feel like it was more fun, this kind of dopamine, than what I need to do. So staring at the wall, working outside, that will reset your dopamine level. Then the last part. The last part is your flow will rewire your brain long term. Rewire. So once you're achieving your results with your flow, you're gonna see that your brain will crave less distractions and more engagement, more full immersion. Basically, in the long term, your brain will want to be deeper in the things that you are doing, and that will trigger flow even faster for you. So I want to conclude this video for you because I gave you so many things, but the most important thing, as you know in this channel, I'm a practice guy, I'm a practical guy. Just practice one thing that will give you that flow that you need. Because now here's what happens. I know many clients and many people that before we met, they went home and maybe they had this unsatisfactory day in which they were putting a lot of effort but didn't achieve the results they wanted, or they felt with no purpose. Well, they bring this, I call that poop, inside of those relationships. And they go home with their wife, with their kids, with their life, also with themselves, and they bring this smell, this poop around. Now what happens is, don't bring the poop in your life and with people that have nothing to do with what you had in your business or during that day. Most of all, you had that not because you don't know, you don't want to put effort, or you don't want to create the life you want, or you don't want to get to the next level, but because you never were taught how your brain likes learning, how your brain likes getting into flow. That's why you're listening to this video, to really educate your brain. So let's do it together and create your flow at will. See you soon.